What's up, guys? It's Eventon here. So I realized just by the title of the video and the content that I'm about to cover here, it is a very contentious topic. So some people absolutely hate gankers. Some people despise the idea of any kind of ganking related content or encouraging or showing off any kind of this type of behavior in EVE Online. And to be honest, like as someone that's been the victim of a gank, this was many months ago in Niarja. I was hauling in an Orca like an idiot with cargo expanders. But long story short, yeah, I was ganked. I lost like 1.3 or like 1.2 billion ISK, getting ganked by like 49 catalysts. And so first I was honestly really upset. Then I kind of learned to accept it. And then I was like, well, what can I do to kind of prevent this in the future? Was I scouted ahead of time? Like I had no idea. So I mainly just wanted to understand the aspects of ganking. And I didn't want to get into it seriously. And to be honest, it's something I only do once a month, maybe twice a month, because honestly, ganking is something that takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a ton of focus. And so it's something that's honestly not as easy as it seems. So mainly wanted to kind of put this together for you guys. I'm basically just documenting myself in my tornado, just looking at ships. And so hopefully this is more of a learning experience for you guys that do hauling, or that are basically afraid of tornadoes for the most part when they're kind of jumping in and out of gates. So this is why you don't autopilot, because as you can see, this Badger actually fell short about 12 kilometers from the gate and they start slow boating. But as you can see, this Wreath went directly to the gate. And so this whole video is hours and hours and hours of footage. So I actually chopped it up to be kind of some more educational pieces, as you guys can see here. And so right now I'm waiting on the gate. I saw a ship just jump through the gate, that little animation. So I'm holding control and I'm just left clicking like heck in the top right, just waiting for an industrial to possibly show up so I can lock onto it. So you can see I locked onto it. I'm using my cargo scanner to see what's inside. And so they have about 80 million ISK, which isn't the target I'm looking for. Honestly, I'm looking for targets that are north of about 400 million, because it's assumed that you're going to lose about half of the ISK in loot. So if it's 400 million, you get about 200. The fit I have for the tornado is about 110 million for the most part. So again, I'm double clicking. It is a miasmos. It's probably hauling ore and some stuff like that. As you can see here, just some materials. So like things like the cryos and those other types of like mineral specific type ships and stuff like that, I'm not a huge fan of, like the miasmos and stuff. But in the bottom right, you can actually see a second screen. That is actually my alt. So ganking is pretty much always done in at least pairs, because if I shoot the ship or the hauler, my tornado gets immediately destroyed by code, how am I actually going to get the loot? So this is why I actually do have an alt account. About 1,200 kilometers, so it's still on grid, but they're really far away and they're not going to be able to interact with anything on here. So when I kill the T1 hauler, obviously it's going to drop the wreck, and then I'm going to immediately warp my hauler over to the wreck, scoop it, and try and warp out. So there is a period of time where I am vulnerable, because when I scoop the loot, my hauler will be suspect and other people can lock onto it or warp scram it, whatever it may be. So this is a Terra. This is probably one of my favorite ships to shoot down if I had an opportunity. So this one will land about 7 million. Again, something we're not really looking for. So, and honestly, this is probably one of the least efficient ways to do ganking. Because ideally, you actually have about 3 characters. You actually have another character probably about a jump behind this gate, and just scanning down ships, so that way you can get names, fits, and cargo. So they usually have a cargo scanner and a ship scanner. So that way you can kind of fit more stuff for scanning resolution and for tracking speed. Because I'm actually sacrificing a tracking speed module in place of a cargo scanner. And again, because it takes me about 2 seconds to lock the ship and scan it, that's about like another 2 seconds, and then I have to shoot it. So I'm pretty much only going to be able to target ships that have an align time of like maybe 6 seconds and above. Anything that's below that, it's going to be really hard for me to lock it and just shoot it. And so here we go. Here's a Badger. I'm scanning it. I have my cursor on the chute. Shooting, about to shoot a barrage of artillery-sized shells at this tiny little T1 hauler. And so again, I'm seeing the animation of a ship jumping through. And so right now I'm just clicking like heck in the top left, just ready to lock on into anything that shows up here. and hopefully scan it down. And so it's another Neris. And I'm ready to shoot it. So it has about 65 million, so it's getting up there, but it's still not the target I'm looking for. And I actually have my ammo, or like my shooting button, off to the side because I don't want to have it too close to my cargo scanning button, just in case I accidentally misclick or whatever and I shoot on accident. So I purposely have it off to the side. So it's just me zooming in kind of where my placement is on the gate for the most part. So I kind of wanted to show you guys that. And I think a little bit later on, I think I do end up doing like a quick 360 around, because sometimes there are other haulers in the area. So sometimes people will set up like a deep space transport to like basically ninja loot your wreck. So they're, you know, people that are ganking, they're risking quite a bit themselves too. You know, they're not just it's not like they're not risking anything. So here I'm going to lock up a Badger. It's probably still going to not have much in it. Yeah, it has nothing. And that's actually what happens the majority of the time. About 60% of the T1 haulers have nothing in them. And about 30% usually have below 100 million. And then 5% usually have between 100 and 200, maybe 300. And then there's only that 5%, maybe even less than that, to be honest. I would say about 1% that actually has above that 400 million. So this is a guy, occasionally you do have people that will just lock onto you and just sit there for like 20 minutes, sometimes even an hour. There are counter ganking groups and like corporations out there that will kind of do this, just sit there to try and deter you from doing it. Here's actually where I messed up. This is a bestower. I scan it down. It has 700 million in loot, and you actually see me click on the button to shoot it, but it just was not in time. I think honestly, one part of it was I was getting a little distracted by the guy locking onto me, and two, again, like I said, this is probably the least efficient way to do ganking. If I had that scanned ahead of time, knowing that there was 700 mil in there, I would have shot right away. There's no point in scanning because I already did that ahead of time. I would have had the name, the fit, and everything. So that is something I might skill into with another alt at some point. So again, I hope as I'm explaining all this to you guys, this isn't me just preying on, you know, innocent haulers, things like that. It's kind of no different than hunters in wormhole space or people that are in bigger ships and PvP space, things like that. It's just another part of the game, and it's just another way to kind of, I wouldn't say make a living. You probably could make a living doing this, but it's very difficult because, again, so this is me doing a 360, just making sure there's no other kind of haulers in the area. But I mean, the gankers, they're risking a lot. I mean, they're risking 110 mil tornado ship. Their security status is going down, and so once it gets below to a certain point, they have to buy tags to turn it in to increase their security status. They're also, you know, obviously losing their ship. I'm also risking the hauler too. I'm risking the loot. So if I do even kill the hauler and I'm sending mine in, I scoop it, someone else could just shoot me down, and now I just lose all of the loot and both my ships. So it's something it's quite difficult. It's much harder than it seems. So that's why I'm kind of showing some of you guys here. So this is actually, I changed up my spot because I wanted to get away from that guy. But again, this is where I mess up. So I scan it down and I try to shoot him. And I think this person probably had an align time of exactly like 5 or 6 seconds, because it takes about 2 seconds to lock, 2 seconds for the cargo scanner to kind of go off. And then by the time I clicked shoot, you know, I would assume it's the same server tick. When I selected shoot, it just started its warp, so I just missed it by 1 second. So that's why it's pretty important to actually have a scanner, like I said, the system before, to kind of save myself this. So I was actually pretty surprised. I did not see a lot of people doing cloak tricks, and so this actually might be something I'll do. Is I'll try and have an alt character, you know, warp through, do the cloak trick, so that way you guys have a good idea of what the cloak trick looks like and how effective it is. And so at this point, I was honestly getting kind of frustrated. I've been doing this for hours. And so I started kind of just looking at what other ships had. So this Orca actually had about 2.2 bill in it. So I was kind of surprised. So occasionally, if there's nothing else in the area, it is kind of nice just to be able to scan other ships and see what they got in there. But at this point, I was just trying to shoot anything. I was mainly just looking for blockade runners, since I didn't have to bother scanning it. Because when you scan a blockade runner, it always says there's nothing inside. That's kind of one of the perks of it. So you can actually see I locked that guy, and I immediately pressed shoot. Before I even finished locking onto him, I was telling my ship to shoot immediately when the lock was successful. I couldn't even get it off because that guy, either had a sub 2 second alive time or he turned on his cloak as he was like warping off. And that's pretty much what the warp trick kind of looks like. So this guy was actually landing on the gate. I managed to get a like lock on him, but it was the same thing. I think by the time you hit the gate, and I think at that range he's probably under my gun, so it's probably not a good idea for me to shoot anyway. And so this is a DST. This is not a target because they just have way too much health, but I was like, I'll just scan it to see what's inside. This guy had about 4.5 billion, and I closed the screen a little bit too quickly before I could check out the loot, but I also saw he had like some abyssal stuff too, so it's probably worth even more than that. Yeah, and I think this is the part where I shoot a blockade runner, and what I should have done is probably swap out my cargo scanner just for another tracking mod for this exact reason right here. Blockade runners accelerate pretty quickly, and so at this point I just completely miss, to be honest. I'll show you the combat log later so you can see all the turrets shooting me, all the ships shooting me. The first thing I'm doing is just obviously getting my pod the heck out of there, because I will get shot by either Concord further or by other players. And in the bottom left I kind of mess up the scoop here, and so because there is no hauler wreck for me to scoop, I just scoop the wreck from my tornado and just get what I can. Sometimes you can get lucky and recover 2 to 8 million worth of stuff, so it's a little bit cheaper for your next tornado. So yeah, I mean that's what a failed gank looks like for the most part. So hopefully next time I can bring you guys some footage of a successful gank and kind of like what the rewards are. So, and as you can actually see in the bottom left, that guy's locking onto my hauler as we speak. So again, it's just multiple layers of risk and the amount of investment you have to do to kind of make these ganks successful. And like I said, it's pretty much fishing. It takes a very, very long time for you to A, get good at it, but also B, kind of see the rewards from the ganks, because it just takes up so much time and focus to have this stuff get done. So if you guys liked the video and if you guys learned something new, I really hope that this helped you guys out. And again, I mainly wanted to do this content. I even just created the alt just in general to understand what it's like to be a ganker, what are some of the issues they run into, and how are these things, and like what are these things I can actually take advantage of myself to make it harder for gankers when I'm doing hauling or I'm trying to avoid them at all costs. So if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, if I actually change your guys' mind about ganking, if you guys want to see more gank content as well, I would love to kind of get some advice, because I was surprised by the lack of people out there willing to kind of talk about it. I know it's not it's not a thing that's kind of encouraged in EVE Online, but I think it's something that should still be spoken about, and I think the more we can understand it on both sides, it's just going to help everyone out. So again, hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment, like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you guys take care.